like there's this idea of equal outcome. Like everyone should have an equal outcome, but there's not an idea of equal effort. Like equal effort is not a real thing.
Hasn't that been proven? That doesn't work, though. Like that's been proven, experienced multiple places, and we know it doesn't work.
But it's still something that's being taught in universities.
Yeah.
It's Marxism and like that kind of leftist thinking is very common in universities. And the idea is that it hasn't been done right. And what you could say that would argue for that is like, well, democracy. You know, I mean, obviously the Greeks had democracy and the Romans had democracy, but it eventually fell and turned into a dictatorship, right? But America was the first legitimate democracy that actually succeeded and still exists currently, right? We were the first that like sort of got it right. Maybe this could be the first socialist government that works.
Led by that
Maybe
noble
these young
leader.
people. Yes. AOC or whoever it is.
She would be wonderful. By the
Who
way,
knows?
here's a question for you. I'm curious to know what you say to this. What are the chances that she'll be a president one day?
Very good. Very
Okay,
high.
I agree.
Very high.
What's high? 20%? Like,
Yes, at least.
Okay.
Yeah, at least 20%.
I'm
She's
with
very
you there.
charismatic,
Yeah.
very intelligent. People love her. Yeah.
She's creating she's got like what 12, 13 million followers on Twitter.
Something like
and
that.
you figure in the next 10 years that's probably going to be at 100 million, 150, 200 million. And that mindset's going to be bought by the younger generation. And gradually we get to a point where somebody's going to elect her. And if an AOC gets elected, then what happens to U.S.?
We'll find out.
Would that be a good thing or a bad thing? Because we would actually be able to say maybe 80% taxes are not good.
Well, I don't think it would ever get to be 80% taxes because the people that would get her into the position to be like, you're seeing compromises already, right? You're seeing compromises. If you're a person that pays attention to politics, you already see that she's sort of compromising her opposition to Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the people that are at the head of the party. They've already sort of started corrupting and making deals. Like this hard line leftism is tempered by this need to be a part of this very powerful political party. And that's kind of what happens, it seems, to every politician once they get into office. That's what happened to Obama, right? Obama was the guy that we all thought was going to change the world. Like here you have this guy, he is the son of a single mother. He comes from very humble beginnings.
Relatable.
Very relatable.
Likeable.
Super likable,
Yeah.
super intelligent, very articulate. And he has all this hope and change website. And in the website speaks very specifically about empowering whistleblowers, right? Helping whistleblowers. Meanwhile, when he gets into office, one of the worst administrations ever at punishing whistleblowers. I mean, and then deletes that from the internet.
Though? What caused it?
I think it's compromised once you get in there and you realize, first of all these ideals that you had, if you really did have those ideals, if those were real and they were not just political talking points that allowed people to love him, if you really did have those ideals, once you get in there and you find out, Mr. President, have a seat. We're going to tell you how fucked the world really is. And they read to you all the things that are going on in the world, all the different operations that are currently being underway.
Yeah.
You get to see all the threats from around the globe.
What do you think changes people more? You think it's more a guy who grows up with, let's just say, not money, but he's popular and he likes power, and then eventually he has certain values and principles he lives by. Then a guy with money comes and tries to buy him, he's willing to flip. Or a person who's left alone, they go make their money, and they make their independent money, they're millionaires, decamillionaires, whatever, billionaires. And then later on, a person comes in and says, I'm going to give you the most powerful position out there, but I want you to change your way of thinking. Which one do you think is more likely to change? I don't know if that makes sense or not. So for example, think about Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan or a John F. Kennedy or a Lincoln, let's just say, or a Trump, right? One thing those, say the three have in common, I don't know about Lincoln, but the three have in common, Reagan, John F. Kennedy, and Trump. They all had money. It's not like they were struggling with women or money, right? Reagan, married Jane Wyman, John F. Kennedy. I think at the end of the day, he was with, 3 or 4 women in his lifetime, whatever the number is. He's been around. He's had his fun. His father set the example. He had a great time. So to him, what party has he not been invited to? Or Trump, he did what he did. Then he gets into a position of power. Then the real power people behind closed doors that let's just say you and I don't know about, the quiet power people, they come in and say, Reagan, Trump, Kennedy, I want you to change your way of thinking. Don't push Federal Reserve too much. Don't push, gold standard too much. Let's change. Who's more tempted to change? The power people or the money people?
I think it's. I don't think
you
it's
know
that,
what I'm asking.
I
right?
do.
Yeah.
I know what you're asking, but I don't think it's that clean. You know, I don't think there's like specific categories for human beings. I think the variables are much more extreme. I think there's the spectrum is very broad, and a guy like JFK clearly had some very strong opinions about positive changes that he could make to this country. Very dangerous opinions. Like he wanted to get rid of the CIA. He wanted to get rid of the NSA. He wanted to get rid of the Federal Reserve. There's a lot of things that JFK wanted to do that were very, very dangerous to the powers that be. What you would call, the deep state. Every year or every 4 years rather, there's a new president, or at least we elect a new president, or they have a chance to, have a second term. The people that are in power at the CIA, the FBI, all these places, they're in power for a long time. That's a long time of running
those guys.
Long time of running things.
Do we know who those guys are? Do we kind of have an idea who those guys are?
I want to know.
Yeah, really?
It's like Voldemort. You want to say the name? Don't say Voldemort. Don't say it. I don't know, man. It's like I think you need intelligence agencies. I think it's a controversial opinion too. I think you need people around the world that are monitoring terrorist cells, that are paying attention to rogue states, that are paying attention to dangerous places like China. You need information. You need intelligence agencies. I'm not an anti-intelligence agency person. I think people that are naive.